Go. So, guys, I thank you for coming today and celebrating with everybody at Xavier High, because it's a pretty good opportunity for you to get away and spend a few moments doing something completely different, which I think is wonderful, that you probably don't get a chance to do very often. So, and even dragging that young guy right there with you. Good luck, man. So I say. So we should say a little prayer as we start. Lord, we ask you to send your Holy Spirit to be with us as we enter into a little bit of time here so we can talk and kind of listen to each other, and maybe let your Holy Spirit have a little work today at Xavier High. Bless these good men in their efforts today, and bless them for their wives letting them go. That's a pretty good prayer any day. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Perfect. So I'm going to steal this stuff here. No, that's good. I just set it down and you set something down. So I have these little things. I'll hand them out. Maybe. I don't know. I'll try, but thanks for coming. So I'll tell you what I was thinking, and maybe you guys can kind of help me with a little bit. The priesters that I've been talking to, and every now and then we get a chance to see each other. Sort of I'd say it's sort of is it a theme or sort of a sentiment, or it's sort of something that's going on? So here's what I'll give this in a generic way, so you don't think we're giving something away here. But we are hearing when people come to confession, which, by the way, as you know, is a sacrament, and you could actually go. I don't know if you go, but the people that do come, God, are they mad? They are so angry. Now, are you like that? I mean, is this a... No, well, I'm just hearing it. I mean, we're hearing it about, and again, in just generic things, we're hearing about my enemies. Well, hell, I didn't know I had any. I mean, I got people that don't like me, I know, but I'm not sure I remember anybody that would really call an enemy. But or somebody that voted another way. Any of this sort of clicking for any of you guys? Any of that stuff working?
I never heard confessions before.
No, I'm talking about... Did you get that? So, make sure they got that in the way. I'm asking about you guys. Is that just something in everyday conversation that you guys are experiencing, that people are just irritated and mad about everything?
I think the whole world's mad about everything.
You think?
Well, I'm not so mad, but upset the way things are going. And I know I am. I just don't like the way the world is turning out.
And does anybody feel that same way? Come on in, Pete. Here's a chair.
I'm sitting there.
Guys, take it with you.
Hey, you don't want me sitting there. You're right.
In the corner where you usually were in high school. Right over there, buddy. That's just great. So, what? You guys are going to tell me?
We were disagreeing with what he said. I think the world's mad.
You think it is too?
Yep.
You think people are mad? No, I don't know if you guys, you get out for coffee. Some of you guys are still working. Some of you guys are retired, and some of you guys play cards with people and whatever. But when you get together with everybody, and is that a topic of conversation that people are just irritated?
Definitely.
Yeah. Some things the media never gives you. They gave you plenty of opportunity to be mad at one thing or another. There's no cohesion.
There's a lot of it. What do you think? You are. I mean, you're maybe not personally irritated, but you hear it though, right?
No, I would go with one.
You're irritated.
Yeah.
You look calm. That's good, though. I want you calm in the front row, too. That's for sure. So.
Calm is good with me.
It's actually good. It's actually good with all of us, is to be calm a little bit. Well, that's what's going on. And for a lot of people, they're just irritated. And I'll tell you what, it's really hard. That's what I'm thinking. It's just really hard to be a happy guy in this world. We've got to get you another chair. Go steal one from another room. Here's one in the corner. For a guy from Fairfax,
Always root for one more.
that's a good spot in the corner.
Sit back here.
For another guy from Fairfax.
Fine.
So we're,
Let me know.
Maybe I can shut this now. What do you think? Bring a chair. There. So we'll shut that to see how we're doing. So I was just thinking about that. I just thought I just wonder where you're at a little bit in terms of what's happening in your life and stuff like that, because it's really hard to be a good guy when you're mad. And it's really hard to be a good guy when you're preoccupied with something that just sets you off. And it's really hard to be really with somebody talking to them when everything they say you're ready to disagree with. You know what I mean? And you've all met people like that, right? That are just contrary. I just call them contrary, or German. You know, they're just, they're just ready to argue with you at any given. It's just a joke, there, Mr. Wilgenbush. I'm sorry. I really.
We argue with Gary because we're right.
There it is. So, but to get irritated all the time and just be on the defensive, it's just, oh God, doesn't that just take a lot of juice out of you? Oh gosh, yeah, it really does. And how's a person supposed to just be themselves? So that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about us just talking a little bit about being ourselves. And the fun part about being yourself is, can you ever be yourself? Or do you always have to be acting a certain way when you're in a certain crowd? Do you ever find that out about yourself, or acting in a certain way because you're with these people or with these people or what? And then you're at work, and if you're still working, you know, you're that way at work. And some guys might be a little looser with their language when they're at work, because everybody's looser with their language at work. You know, like priests on the golf course. Yeah.
So, you know, I see the world and I see things going ways that I don't want.
Uh-huh.
But I also have things that I believe and things that I stand by, and my hope is in Jesus Christ. And then, you know, you're talking about, so there's two things. There's the world, and then there's my relationship with Christ. In between is my family. I try to keep my family closer to Christ. And I try and pull as many people I care about closer to Christ. And then there's going to be a bunch of people that there's nothing I can do. But I turn that over to God, because I know I can't do it all myself. But when you're talking about how we are in different settings, we might be this way and this way, and I think it's okay to be different ways to different people. Priest on a golf course would be a good example. But you look at, you know,
Cigars,
scotch, right?
Yeah.
Are you hanging out with Cedar over in Dubuque at the country club?
There you go.
But
I never go to the Duke. Yeah.
But I think Christ was like that too, because you know, there's certain times where he tells people, "Do not repeat this. Do not tell people this." He sends Lazarus away because he doesn't need all these people to know what happened, because that might cause the coming of his passion too soon. So I think it's okay. I think there's wisdom in that there is a setting for everything. Like, you know, turning water into wine. A wedding's a good setting. At work is probably not. But I think the thing, for me in the world, control the things I can control. For those that I can't, they're faithful. And my peace is in Christ, and knowing my own limits, but at the same time, keeping the faith and inviting others.
Well, that's really good, don't you think, everybody? Yeah, it's wonderful, and I applaud you for making every effort to try to do that. I can't do that. I'll be real honest.
Well, I don't always say I'm successful.
I'll be real honest. I can't do that. I mean, I can't. I couldn't begin to compete with you then if it was, because you're not always successful. Yeah.
That's why they have confession.
That's exactly why we have confession. So that we try over and do that stuff again. But it's really well said, because it's a wonderful thing. I don't know if I'm very good at letting things go, and I don't know if I'm very good about trusting other people to get it done, and I'm not so sure that I can turn it all over to God all the time. I'm not sure I'm all that good at that. How about you guys? Some of you might say something like that yourself. So I don't know if I can let that go. Although I do ask some people sometimes when they're very, very angry, and I do remind them I'm not a counselor, I'm not a shrink, I'm just a priest in the confessional, but I will remind them that I don't really have all the answers for that kind of stuff, but I just wonder, why do you put that much energy into things you can't control? And then I laugh at myself because I do that too. And so that to me is a wonderful lesson for us to like keep in front of us on the dashboard of the car, you know, when you're stuck in traffic. And I think it was my first weekend at All Saints. I was coming in from Mount Vernon because I cover Springville and I cover Mount Vernon and All Saints and Cedar Rapids. I'm charging in from Mount Vernon and I'm coming up the big hill just off of 13 on Mount Vernon Road up, and I got behind the only person in Cedar Rapids that actually did the speed limit on Mount Vernon Road. Nobody goes the speed limit on Mount Vernon Road, and I was just so ticked because they were going the speed limit. And I was just so honked because, you know, I should put that right there in the dashboard for me. I said, you can't control it, Jack. Let it go. Oh, but I'm Irish. Do it. That's the truth. So the deal is about, for me, then being real honest guys, is being honest with ourselves about that and recognizing that I am wasting energy here. I'm rolling this over in my mind, over and over and over, this stuff I can't control. Why am I giving it that much power over me? I can't control it. Why do I do that? And I do. And I give it lots of power. You ever find yourself doing that? Sort of, and I don't want to say obsessing over something, but we do sometimes. Just rolling it over and over and over. My God, can't I get it out of my head? And it takes time and energy, and it's like, and I can't fix it, change it, but I do it. Yes, sir.
Say Hail Mary, I'll help you.
You think?
You're right.
You think it'll get my mind off of it? You guys find prayer at times like that will help a lot of you to do that, you think? You hearing that, man? So that's, see? Well, you know, what grade are you in?
9.
Yeah, so you're a freshman, so good luck. That's what we're thinking. There's a lot of high school to go there, and there's a lot of Hail Marys to be said, because there's going to be a lot of frustration that comes up. Well, I'm really glad you guys generated that, because I'm not sure that was the first response when I was growing up in 9th grade that I heard from growing up in the farm in Fairfax was to say a Hail Mary. When those stupid pigs on the farm were causing all kinds of irritation. I'm not sure Hail Mary was the first thing that came up. But I like the fact that you guys are serious about that too, as I'm joking, but you say, no. Father Ardell Barta? Yeah. Oh, Ardell wouldn't mess with a pig, you know that. Ardell. All those Fairfax priests. But that's not the first thing that comes to mind. But I really think it's great that you said it, and you affirmed it, and a lot of you nodded your heads and said, yes, this is a good thing. And I hope you all note that, because that's important to hear that. I think it's really important that you all hear that other guys will stop and say a prayer. And I'm not sure that was any message I ever got growing up.
It's taken a long time to get there. I'll tell you that.
That's probably why you guys are here this morning, you suppose? Maybe. And so just so you know, I find that to be an incredibly positive thing, don't you think? We took the time out of busy schedules this morning to stop in just so we can talk about our faith, talk a little bit, laugh at each other a little bit, see other guys, maybe learn something today, if nothing else, eat some donuts, which is always good, you know, and have some coffee. And kind of nice, and that part is really wonderful, but also because it's got to do with our faith. It's not that we went to a NCAA thing this morning to watch a game together or something, or it wasn't something, you know, with some league that we belong to or something like that. No, it was got to do with our faith, and I think that's terrific that you guys are doing that. So I just got this little handout for you, and hopefully I have 40 of these things, and we're gonna, I don't know how many people we have in here, but I'm just gonna start some here and start some here. I took a class on this in college once, on how to pass stuff up.
How'd you do it?
Poorly, I just did. Very poorly, I just throw it. So there's 40 of those, and we'll throw them around, and we'll spend a little time, and we honestly only have 20 minutes left of this. You've so far learned a lot, haven't you? So, and we'll see if you guys get one, and we'll send it around. Hopefully, if I did 40, I don't know how many people are in here. Gary, how many? 47. 47, so we're short. So if somebody wants one, I will go down to the office and we'll run some off in case you want one of these things, because these things might go on eBay for a lot of money someday. They really might. They really might be worth something. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that too much. So. And then we can share a little bit. So I wasn't sure how many people were coming. So. And the handouts aren't all that great, but they're a little something. Because I just wanted to direct this in a certain direction. So you didn't think the whole thing was just sort of ad-libbed, like everything else I do, but it's not completely. So there's some more here if anybody wants any. So if you all get one, that'd be great. Okay, so here's what I was thinking, just about sort of directing us in a certain direction. Got a couple over here? Okay. And sending us in a couple directions. I put a quote up there from anybody else? Anthony DeMello. And there's some behind you here too, if you have any left.
You got one left, if not, I've got a friend I can share it.
Okay, cool.
No, he doesn't.
I know
Well,
a guy that'll.
you know a guy?
Here. I know a guy.
We know a guy. All right, that's good. I like that. So I put this thing at the top because I thought it was really neat, and I don't know if you know about Anthony DeMello. Anthony DeMello is a wonderful author. He writes little books of wisdom, and you might stop at Barnes & Noble or someplace like that, or you might look on younger guys that are still doing internet and stuff, might look, the older guys stop at the bookstore. But Anthony DeMello is a pretty sharp cookie, and this little one up there I thought was nice. And there's a lot of these stories about the master and the student coming out of the eastern deserts, you know, of the early church, and whether it was Jewish or whether it was Christian or whether it was Islamic, doesn't make any difference, because the point of the story is what it's all about. To a disciple who complained of his limitations, which I'm sure none of us here have ever done, I said, when they stuck me in a math room, I said, it's very fitting because I got straight D's in high school in math. I said, great, I'm going to give a talk in a math room. That's perfect. And I got the Greek alphabet up there, which, and here's a word I don't know, algebra, I don't know what that means. And so this is perfect. Know your limitations. I have quite a few of them. The master said, you are limited indeed. But have you noticed you can do things today that you would have not thought possible or impossible 15 years ago? What changed? Now, ask yourself that. You barely can 15 years ago, but just think about it for you, buddy, because you're probably 15, right? 14. Yeah, so pretty darn close. It's a good question. Imagine what you could not do 14 years ago. And for these guys, imagine 15 years, do you think you've learned something that maybe you've changed? Because that's what you just told me about saying that prayer. You said, it took a while. Just imagine. So this guy says, what changed? And the kid says, my talents changed. And the master says, no, you changed. And the kid says, well, isn't that the same thing? And here's the wisdom. No, you are what you think you are. When your thinking changed, you changed. Now I invite you to ponder that, because it's open to debate, simply because does that really change the person completely? Or did it change the person completely? Because suddenly they're thinking in a different way. Once upon a time, prayer didn't mean much. But 15 years ago, too busy. Family, kids, job, occupation, social status, all the stuff. But 15 years later, taking some time out to say a prayer is pretty important. Did you change? Maybe. Same old guy. Maybe a softer guy, maybe a more intuitive guy, maybe a guy more in touch with himself. I don't know. But I like that. And I thought, well, you just might think about that a little bit. It's worthy of discussion to say, I wonder if I really changed deep down inside, or has the prayer that I've allowed into me changed me? And that might be something to think about too. So, just for you to think about, okay? So then, number one up here, I said, every day we get up and we do what we do. And every one of you guys is in a different business, occupation. Just think about that. You got 47 or so guys in the room, you said? So 40 some of us in here, and a lot of us do different things. Some of us do the same. But we all have different routines, and yet they're kind of the same routines. Because a lot of our life, we got up early, and we went to work, and got home. And then it just depends after that what happens in our lives. In my case, I get up early, I go to work, and then I go and stay at work. And I go and stay at work. And when I get home about 8:30, 8:45, usually every night, if I do eat, I go to bed. Because I'm gassed, and I get up the next day and do it just over and over and over. Now, you have been doing a lot of that same stuff for your whole life too. Over and over and over. So I wrote it in here. The sameness, even though it's different, but if you look back over your life, there was a pattern, was there not? You did a lot of the same stuff. If you worked at Quaker, like a good friend of mine, so see our birthday, he and I have the same birthday. It was Monday, and we turned 63. I turned 63 Monday this week. He's been working at Quaker more or less since we got out of high school in 72. More or less, he's still there. They hate him because, of course, he should retire. And he's getting a hell of a lot of money, but he won't quit. So he's smiling at him like crazy, making all that extra money at Quaker. So, he's one of those guys they'd love to get rid of. That's a big amount of money per hour he's working. And he's been doing that since, I suppose, 74. I suppose he got a full-time job in 74. Can you imagine? Just go in every morning, work for a shift, mix, and that's what he does. He puts raisins into instant oatmeal. Since 74. God, every day. And he works all the overtime he can work, and that's all he does. He just puts a couple of those 50-pound bags in a mixer, pushes a button, and then stands for 15 minutes while it mixes, and then pushes a button and empties it and does it again. All day since 1974. I know. God.
Probably doesn't eat oatmeal either, does he?
No, I think he hates raisins. Yeah, that's what I think he hates. So anyway, that to me, because as a school teacher, at least there's some spontaneity and fun and stuff like that going on with kids, but not so much with a bag of raisins. I don't think there's spontaneity, but same thing. And you guys all have that story that it says the sameness, the almost monotony of daily life brings challenges and concerns, and many men as we age experience similar issues in our lives. So all we can see is what we have to do the next day, because it's the same thing. And all we can see is that if we can just stay alive until Friday, we might get the weekend off. You ever have those? And you all have, haven't you? Sure. And I call that kind of a tunnel vision. It's a survival thing. God, if I could just get, which I said this week, God, if I could just get to like 11:30. God, it's coming up too. I'll be done. That's what I thought about. God, trying to get everything else done this week, so same deal. I said, slavery to our schedule. Well, that's an interesting one for you to think about. A lot of people feel like they're captured. Slaves to the schedule, because the schedule never changes. It's just the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And my God, right? Then I put placation of desire. Well, placation of desire, it's sublimation too. It's another way to try to, it's one of those common things that happens to us. God created men in a certain way and women in a certain way, and sometimes our lovely wives at a certain point don't have the same interest in us as they used to. And then I hear about that occasionally from men, and then men go, what the hell do I do? Because I'm the same old guy I used to be, and she's not. Does this resonate with anybody in here? And it causes, it's the truth, and it causes some stuff. And every guy, there's a lot of guys that go through that thing of trying, what the hell do I do? And sometimes they don't do good things, because there's a lot of options, right? Lots of options there to cause issues. So, tunnel vision, same stuff every day. I need a break. I need a change. And it can lead us to disaster, and it does lead some guys down that path. You know, it just does. And that one's pretty strong. Alienation, you can be alienated from people at work. You can't stand the guys you work with, the people you work with, but you go anyway. So then you don't talk to anybody, and so going every day gets harder and harder. You know what I'm talking about? And then the same thing is you feel like you're missing out, the lost part, because everybody else gets to do stuff, but you don't get to, because you've got to go do this stuff. You ever felt that way? If you raise kids, you felt that way, because when everybody else is going to do something, you're at a birthday party or something, and or whatever, right? So, even though we're all different in the room, all had different schedules, there's a lot of same stuff that guys go through. You buy that? I think I'm right. I mean, I don't think I'm making up anything that's... But how do we cope, boys? What do we do with that? Because that can cause... All that stuff can cause lots of stress, and what do we do? So there's the deal. Now, having God in our life is really important. But when you're in the middle of a week, and all you can see is 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, let's say first shift, and 3's coming, or 3:15 or whatever, and that's all you can see. God's not in the equation much, because you're just trying to survive to get through. Because already you know there's stuff lined up on Friday night, there's stuff lined up on Saturday, you know? Because things get scheduled for you too. Yes, because your bride sometimes has visions of something that needs to get done, and you know how it goes. Happens. So, where's God? Is there room in the middle of all that? So, we go to number 2. Now, here is something people use, and I don't think they use it well. They use it as a shield. That number 2 says, our religion is supposed to protect us from what we want and help us in our life. And when hurt, crisis, and loss enters our life, often in a dramatic fashion, our faith becomes distorted. It can actually block us from experiencing God, because we will say, God didn't come through. God let me down. God's not listening to my prayers. Another priest thing is the generic concept that lots of people come and they'll tell us over and over, priests, that God never listens to me. Never. So I invite you to think about that one, if you've ever said that, or if you ever felt that. That's part of alienation too, and loss. Because religion is supposed to help. It's supposed to help and protect us. But what protects us from reality out here? The world's right out there. Highway 100 screaming right behind the football field, and 42nd Street's right here, and Edgewood Road's right there, and it's busy out there. It takes just one long, wrong look as we go home today, and bam, we're hit, right? Because it's just, there it is. It's just right there. It's very hectic. And those people are on their way doing stuff like that. So what protects us from that? Nothing. Stuff happens. So I don't know if religion is supposed to be a shield that we can use to stop everything from banging into us, because I think it's going to bang into us. I think the world's coming no matter what. And when we use that as a shield and the shield doesn't work, we're crushed. We're let down. That's why I wrote the word distorted right there, because we think it's going to stop. So I wrote this down from Rabbi Heschel. Now, Rabbi Heschel wrote that book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, a long time ago. I don't remember if many of you read it or saw it, but it was a really popular, it's probably still printed. And he wrote that. He's a really well-respected person. And I loved it. As a tree torn from the soil, you can almost picture that, right? As a river separated from its source, the human soul wanes when detached from what is greater than itself. When we allow the world to tear us away, so I love that tree torn from the soil, and you've seen pictures, massive trees knocked over by a windstorm, and maybe even in your own property, and the roots, my God, the thing is this tall, and you wonder, how is that possible? And it just kind of went, you've seen it on TV, you've experienced it. When we get detached like that, and a river that goes a different direction, and now it can't find its way. There was the big flood in Manchester. When the big flood was down here in 2008, there was a huge flood up in Manchester too, and it knocked down a dam and flooded a bunch of people's property, and sent the river going a completely different direction. The silly river was just wild. It went other places it wasn't supposed to go. It knocked over people, had made dams and stuff. And suddenly the river is not flowing back, and fish died, and everything dried up in another place because the river was going through a pond. Suddenly there was no pond anymore, it was the river, and it just changed directions, and everything it was just a mess for a lot of people. Totally changed and distorted. I love that. That's what our soul is like when detached from what is greater than us. And what's greater than us? Well, we're going to say God is greater than us. We're going to say the summit and the source of what we're hoping to be connected to is this God that we're here to celebrate this morning. But again, work, loss, pain, struggle, the world crashing in on us can all distort that and help to tear us away or reroute us. So you know the standard thing? Oh, those kids, they go to church because we're made to go to church. A lot of you, that's what you did when you grew up, right? No doubt, no question. Mom and Dad in the car. Or some of you horse and buggy. Where are you, Nelson? Sorry. Horse and buggy. And to get to church, and there was no discussion about that stuff, right? Then when you got out on your own, plenty of discussion about whether or not you're going to get to church or not. And a lot of you didn't go, correct? I didn't. I mean, when I was in college at Loris, that was, oh man, I was still sleeping on Sunday morning after Saturday night. I promise I was not getting up and going to church. We did have church about 10 o'clock Saturday night. That helped a lot, getting there. Because we do that in schools. And Father Shedda from Ames is talking up on the main. They do a lot of masses late at night at Ames, too, for the same reason. But you get out on your own, you go a different way from your mom and your dad. And maybe you find your way back. Looks like some of you guys did, right? And maybe some of you never left. Maybe some of you never did. But a lot of people sure do. Because you heard the stats that our speaker was spitting at us out there about, like basically 25% of Catholics really sort of do anything. Well, that's a lot of folks that say they're Catholic and want to be confirmation sponsors and send me the thing saying, I want to be a confirmation for Billy. But of course nobody knows who they are because they don't get to church. So it's like, well, okay, but I don't know what to do with that. I don't know who you are or anything. Happens all the time. We get rerouted, detached, go a different direction. Society does it to us. The world does it to us. If you want, the devil loves to do it to us. It happens. It's easy. So, next one. And so here's the one. Yes, sir.
One thing.
Yes.
Does society do it, or do we allow it?
Such a
Do it
good
to us.
Such a good question. What do you think? I know you have an opinion.
We have free choice. God gave us free will to choose right or wrong.
Yes.
It's not society. Society cannot do nothing to us that we do not allow.
Guys, are you listening? You liking? Yeah? 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 And we allow it. I'm with you. Oh, that's good. Such a good point.
We not only allow it, we enhance it, I think, a lot too. You get into it and you think, this is a lot easier. We'll do it this way.
By not saying anything,
Yeah.
we are condoning.
I'm not gonna get involved.
Yeah, and either you will condone it, or you'll stay silent and condone it by saying nothing.
So good.
So again, we have free will. We have choice. We can choose to, or we can choose not to.
We agree.
And I think it's very important. And the only reason I'm here is because I wasn't called in to go to work at the post office this morning. I was
That's great.
fully prepared to be called on my way down here. So that's the only reason I'm here.
But you're here.
But yeah, and I said I would if I didn't have to work, and that's so. But
Well, you got to work.
well, I just took a new position too, and I just know
You have to.
There's no way I can get out of it. So
No.
but by the grace of God, So but
They all
I
understand.
think
They all hear you.
It's very important for not only someone my age, and I'm sure you all think I'm younger than I am, but
Oh, I don't know, 70?
I am about twice as old as he is.
Okay, that's good.
So, a little older, but, you know, it's important for someone not only my age, half my age, and, you know, if it's twice my age, you know, for all people, again, it doesn't matter what age you are, to see that as a man, and we all know this, again, because we are very visual. And society knows that, and that's why they can attack us so easily, because we are very visual. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But to see that there's other men like us who are going through the same struggles, the same fight, the same issues, whether you're young, you're old, you've got kids, your kids are now having kids, or you are waiting to have kids. You know, to see that you're not alone, that you have someone there in your corner to help you and have you, you know, as a spiritual partner. Not only your wife, but, you know, have another guy who can relate to you,
Mm-hmm.
and can share that. And that's why I think it's very important that guys are here.
Yeah, we listen to each other once in a while, right? Yeah.
Not only listen, but also hear and help each other. You know, carry on.
No, it's great. Thank you. No, it's great. We thank you for that. You were going to say,
Just that when we're in the world, in the work world, let's say, for example, we can still live our spiritual life in that environment. And that doesn't, but we're still playing in gray areas. So if I'm working in an environment where people swear a lot, I don't have to start joining in and swearing, and I don't have to stand up in front of everybody and tell my boss, don't talk like that, because now my career is going to be limited. I can't take care of my family.
yeah, it's hard.
Right, but I can always get to the point where they know how I behave.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I worked in an environment where that was there, and it got to the point, I never had to say anything, but when we were in a meeting and somebody would say something, they'd turn around and say, excuse me.
Sorry, Brian.
So they knew.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not to the point where you have to challenge somebody and force them to change their ways,
It's good.
but you can influence them.
Very good.
And you can live your own faith in front of them.
It's good. Our speaker this morning was talking about, you know, being a man, standing on your own 2 feet kind of stuff, right? And that's one way to do it without hitting anybody over the head or anything. You know, it's just like, no, I choose to be. I choose to be. So let me jump ahead, because when they ring that little bell like that, we're nowhere near getting through that. You guys, this is fun, and you're so good. Could we look at the back page under number 9? I want to show you this thing. I went to Creighton for school a little bit, you know, on top of everything else we're doing. And there's this gentleman there. He's a nice Jesuit guy. He'd had 2 complete massive strokes in his life. So the whole side of his face is paralyzed. So it was really hard to listen to because the one side of his mouth didn't work. And he was just a terrific guy. John Govins, his name. So he had to learn as a baby to all the things that we learned as we grew up. Walk, eat, feed himself, do everything. Then he has the first stroke, totally has to learn it again, has another one. Has to do it a 3rd time. So this guy has gone through setbacks like, oh God, you know, my knees hurt today, and I think of him, and I go, oh, shut up, Jack. Because this guy, God, just be quiet about your little knees compared to what this guy's going through. And so he has this theory, and it fits right into what you guys are talking about. So you can see it right there. It says, imagine that life is like a fast-moving river, and you suddenly find yourself emerging from the depths, gasping for air. You pop up, feeling that very strong current pulling at you, dragging you along. So what are your options? And so there's 3 options here. Do you allow yourself to go along with the river, as it is very, very powerful? Do you try to swim upstream against the river, fight it, as you do not know where it's taking you? You swim downstream with the current, following the river. And of course, it's a big metaphor for life. So here we all pop up, and we all have. And as life changes for us, we find ourselves in different places in the river. as we age. And the river just keeps on flowing, promise, right? And you know that. That's because if you had to go to work today, of course you'd been at work today, because that's where the river goes, and that takes care of the family. And that's how you do it. That's what we do. We make choices. Not always the ones that give us life either, where we really like to do, but we do it. So what do you think? What do we do? Because some of these are active, some of these are passive, some of these are I can fight against. So I invite you to think about that. He came to this little thing for us to talk about and think about after going through these 3 strokes or the 2 strokes and trying to start over again and again. And he had to be patient. And he had to be incredibly patient with himself and forgiving. And guess what? Patient with God, because who do we get mad at when that stuff happens? When we have really bad things, we get really mad at God. And God has big shoulders. And God can take it. But once we get past being angry with God, we're still in the river. And we're still being swept along. So what do? So I invite you to think about that. Pete.
Father, I'd like you to discuss, because the sameness, I think many times, all of us, including you, can feel guilty.
Wow.
And sadly, I think, unless we learn how to deal with guilt, we can crush ourselves and put ourselves down too much. You could share some thoughts about that, because I think it fits right into all of this.
I used to use scotch. It didn't work. Just so you know, it didn't work particularly well. Scotch and a lot of it, and it didn't work. So I kind of learned a little thing about that. So I think I've been sort of free from that kind of stuff for about 8, 9 years now, something maybe. And so the guilt part of it is, well, we do feel guilty sometimes.
Attention, we will now have a 10-minute break and then proceed back to the gym after your break.
Boys?
Thank you.
I want to apologize for...
Well, thank you.
I had so much stuff there. I wish I could have got it. So we could have had it. And I really want to thank you. I really want to thank you guys for the opportunity to talk and share a little bit with each other, because that's what we never get a chance to do. In your own parishes, if you get a chance to kind of do some men things once in a while and just share and talk a little bit, the honest to God, it's...
We're out of effort now, we're going through this management thing, the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
It's wonderful.
It's powerful to do.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry that he's doing a what?
This Man Is You. I don't know if you guys.
It's a book called This Man Is
No,
You?
every Saturday morning we meet.
Oh.
For about 30, 40 of us meet, and we have watch a video that we just break out small groups and discuss it. We have breakfast and everything. It's very, very enjoyable.
And as you know,
It's worldwide.
as we pop up in the river at different ages, some people can do that on a Saturday morning, and other people go to work or go to a soccer match or whatever the case may be, you know. So
Go back to bed.
that would be the day if I could do that. But thank you guys. I'm sorry we didn't get done. But appreciate it.